Hello viewers, here is a Uniden cordless telephone. This is a 25 channel 46 to 49 megahertz ultra clear plus, and it is model XCA-650. Let's look at the informations. And this is, I would say, one of the most important, if not the most important, telephones in my collection, because this was the first cordless phone I ever had. This was originally purchased by my uncle, and it probably dates back to the perhaps mid to late 90s, 96, 97, somewhere in there. And he used it for several years, up until about, it must have been at least 2003, I think, 2003 or 2004, when he replaced it with the XCA-650 set, and then he gave me this. And when I got this, I always kind of liked telephones. For as long as I've existed, I've always kind of liked telephones, and so he knew that, so he gave this to me just, for curiosity or whatever. And so I said, that's cool, cordless phone. I put it in the closet, never really thought much of it. And then a few months later, it dawned on me to take it out and use it and see if it still worked. Because he told me that the battery wasn't working that well, so I guess that's why I dismissed it. But I took it out, plugged it up, and it worked fine. I never had an issue with the battery. And I used this as my primary telephone from 2004, around there, for at least 10 years. And over the entire period of time, I never had a problem with the battery. I had the original battery in this phone up until I stopped using it as my primary phone. And even then the battery still worked just fine. So I've seen a number of situations where these Uniden nickel cadmium batteries from the late 90s last that long. Sometimes they do. I've also heard of stories where you take them out and stop using them for a little while, you put them back in and they work as good as new. That makes no sense to me, but it happens. So anyways, that's what happened with this one. And so this was the phone that I had. This is the phone that started my whole cordless phone thing. I started really liking cordless phones after I had this one. And I thought this was the greatest thing ever when I had it. Because at the time, I mean, computers obviously existed, but we had one in the house, but I didn't personally have one. And so I didn't really use technology that much. I didn't have a personal computer at the time. I didn't have a camera. So this was really the only piece of technology that I had. And I was fascinated by the fact that it could record audio clips. And so I would record hours worth of audio clips into this telephone. And it could record calls. I would record calls. And I don't remember exactly how long it was after I got this, but shortly after I got this telephone, I got a cell phone, and that could record audio as well. Because I was so fascinated by this phone in particular, I would record the audio into this phone, and then when it filled up, I would record the audio from this phone into the cell phone, because the cell phone had a much greater capacity, and then I clear out the space on this and record again. I have some of those recordings still. I don't have them all, unfortunately, but I have some of them. The ones I'm thinking of that were very comical, we had at the time, from my cousin who was very young, an electronic table. I think it was actually a VTech product, and it had the alphabet on it, and the letters were buttons, and you pressed one of the letters and it would say something like D for dog or whatever, some household item or an animal. And it was some kind of an interactive element to it. You could play games or whatever on there. I don't know. Anyways, we had that, and sometimes it would malfunction, and I was so amused by this because it would malfunction and it would just go up and say things that made absolutely no sense. And so I made a lot of recordings of that weather table screwing up into this phone. I put music to it and everything. If I can find those clips when I'm editing this video, I'll cut the video here, and I'm gonna put a couple samples of those clips in here now. So that was that. I did that. Recorded calls on here, and I would talk on this thing all the time. I'm surprised that it's still in as good a condition as it is, because I took this thing everywhere. I took it outside, took it walking the dog, I took it downstairs, I took it in the kitchen, and it was all over the house all the time. And it held up. It just worked. It worked perfectly. Never had a problem. And my aunt and uncle never had a problem with it either. They called it Old Faithful because it always just worked. There's never a problem with it. It is a fair bit yellowed because I took it outside all the time. It was in the sun, and the table where I had it in the bedroom was near a window, because at the time I didn't know that the sun would ruin the plastics. Nobody told me. So it was in the sun for several years. So unfortunately it's quite yellowed, and it's worn down. The buttons are all worn smooth because of how much I've used it, and the back is too. It's got some scratching on here. I think sometimes when we went outside I would put it on the front porch, which is stupid because the front porch was concrete, so it got a little bit scratched up. I'm sure it took some falls too. Actually, that's really deep. I don't know what in the world happened there, but anyways, the antenna is still with us, and it's still fairly flexible too, which is interesting. It needs to be cleaned up. Someday I'll clean it up. But it also has the remote answering thing. You can get the time on there. I thought that was the best thing ever. I check the time every 3 seconds with this thing. But anyway, so that's the story behind this one. A lot of good memories within this phone. Back to a time when life was a lot simpler. They were good times. I like technology, but sometimes it's too much, and it's really, in my opinion, it's taken over society to an unhealthy extent, and it just makes everything too complicated. And anyways, that's a whole different philosophical discussion. So regardless, a couple of neat things about this phone. It's got the charge light on the back. It's a green kind of color. Flickers to reset the security code. Got 21 messages on there. Let's see, we're not going to do a full checkout on this. I've got a lot of messages on there which I want to save. I know they're personal to me, so I don't want to put them into the camera, but let's see if I remember how to set the time. We do remote, I think we do clock, and then I believe it is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Today is Tuesday. It's 08:27 p.m. Yeah, that worked. Okay. So that is how you do it. Um, Classic Uniden ringtones. 10 speed dials. 25 channels. Redial. You know, even from like a technical perspective, like I said, I used this telephone up until I really started collecting phones. I got more telephones, more models, and that's when I said it's time to take this one out of primary service and kind of have it as a a display piece in my collection, because these are hard to come across. I used it up until well beyond when DEC 6 was available, and I always found that this telephone worked really well. I found that the ergonomics of the earpiece were exceptional. The handset is long and thick and wide. It's very comfortable to hold, and the quality of the sound is really good, and the coverage and the thoroughness of the coverage in particular, and the range too is good. But the thoroughness of the coverage is impressive for 46 to 49, because a lot of these phones, they just didn't work that well. But this one, it really worked quite well. In the other house where I used to use it, and in this house too, there really were no dead spots with this phone. So it was really good in terms of performance. The battery, it's kind of a unique compartment, because it takes the 3 short AA kind of size cells, but the shape is such that you can put a one of these AAA triple cells in there. So that's what I did for the video. I had one of those other batteries. I just used it last night, and I can't find it. And I'm kind of getting bewildered as to where it went, because it's not in the battery box and it's not anywhere else. It's not in the phone that I tested it with. I don't know where that battery went. But anyways, so let's make a call here. Oh, the other thing I wanted to show about this, the volume is kind of unusual. It goes from 0 to 15, not 0 to 10 like they normally do. Or not 0, 1 rather. So that's kind of neat. And of course the antenna is a typical pretty long, goes up there in case it's not picking up on the camera. Pretty long antenna. At the other house, I used this in conjunction with an SBC Global callerID box, which I happen to have the original instance of. I found another one recently. Looks like this. So I had that, and then for the corded phone, I had 2 phones that I used in the bedroom. I had an AT&T 100 desk phone, and I had a Crosley telephone, one of those replica. I don't want to call it a 2500. It wasn't a 25. It wasn't a 2500. It was one of those fake rotary dial phones with like the big metal handset, and it had a cloth cord. That quit working relatively quickly. So I used the 100 for a while. I have that 100 somewhere too. I should do a video on that one too. Anyways, so we'll do a little bit of demonstration here on this phone. Go ahead and make some calls. Turn the amplifier on. Okay. And there is no volume on this one. It's just talking off. Okay, that didn't get too far. Okay, now it's getting late, but let's finish this up. I think I was going to make a test call, so I'll put the equipment back on. And we heard this ring a bit because it happened to be on the line at the time.
technology is as helpful as our people. People's United Bank N.A., member FDIC. Today is Wednesday, April 8th. People's United Bank time, 9:16. Current temperature, 49 degrees. Showers likely mainly during the morning. Mostly cloudy today, highs upper 50s. Mostly cloudy tonight, lows in the mid-40s. Thursday, some showers and thunderstorms. By afternoon, breezy, a high in the mid-50s. Winds becoming southwest, 20 to 25, gusts to 40.
Of course, this doesn't really show the sound quality that well, but it sounds quite good. Just out of curiosity, does it have the memories in here? No, it does not.
Tuesday, 9:16 p.m. You have no new messages.
Okay, let's go ahead and call the testing answering machine. Okay, this is a test. I hear some static. I'm going to change the channel. Okay, now it's perfectly clear. And that is one thing I've always noticed about this telephone. If it happens to have some static, you can normally be cleared up by changing the channel. I will roam across the room here. It's another room. It's in the studio now. At least for 46 to 49, really does seem to work pretty well. Onomatopoeia out. Okay, and I'll play that back. I guess I should cut that out of the video because you couldn't even hear what I was saying.
1 new message and 19 old messages. Message 1.
Okay, this is a test. I hear some static. I'm going to change the channel. Okay, now it's perfectly clear. And that is one thing I've always noticed about this telephone. If it happens to have some static, you can normally be cleared up by changing the channel. I will roam across the room here into the other room, exiting the studio now. And there's a little bit of static right there. Now I am all the way across the room. A little bit of static. I'm going to change the channel again. That wasn't a good channel. Let's try one more time. That's relatively clear. Okay, I'm going to oh, that's a different channel. Hello? Oh, this channel is really good. Okay, I'm going to go back to the other side of the room. And now it's remaining clear. I'm by the water equipment now. And I'm moving back. So, as long as you have a good channel, this phone, at least for a 46 to 49, really does seem to work pretty well. Onomatopoeia out.
End of messages.
Okay, we'll record a test message into here. Turn the screening all the way down. I think the ringer is on. So 2 rings, and ringer is on low. Put it on high. And I always had it on the clatter. But did I have it on clatter or did I have it on flicker? I might have had it on flicker, you know, I don't even remember anymore. Anyways, let's go ahead and call this thing up. Yeah, I think I did have it on Flickr actually.
Hello. No one is available to take your call. Please leave a message after the tone.
Hello, this is a test of the Uniden digital or Digitan answering system on the XCA-650 telephone. It's still screening a little bit. Hopefully there's not a lot of feedback. Okay, we should have a flashing 1 on there. Oh, it's still recording. I always thought that was kind of cool how it does that animation while it's recording.
You have 1.
Hold on, so increase the volume first.
You have 1 new message.
Hello, this is a test of the Uniden digital or Digitan answering system on the XCA-650 telephone. It's still screening a little bit. Hopefully there's not a lot of feedback.
Tuesday, 9:22 p.m. End of messages.
There was some feedback. We'll try it again. I'll do it on the other phone.
Hello. No one is available to take your call. Please leave a message after the tone.
It
doesn't seem to screen the greeting. It only screens the message itself. Message recording 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Goose.
Okay.
You have 1 new message.
It doesn't seem to screen the greeting. It only screens the message itself. Message recording 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Goose.
Tuesday, 9:23 p.m. End of messages.
It's not a terrible quality answering machine. It's not fantastic, but I think it's a little bit better than some of the other digital machines out there. Well, anyways, that's going to conclude this video. It's late. I'm getting tired because the video got interrupted. And I think I've shown everything I wanted to show on this. We could show the fine handset, I suppose. Okay, so I think that is it. Speakerphone. Yeah, that's it. That's the Uniden XCA-650 cordless phone. First one I ever had. Thank you for watching.